Hello! Hello, my friends. How are we doing? Can you see me? Can you hear me? It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back on the live streams. Aw, hello, everyone. Rinkasov says, I've seen zero House of the Dragon, so this will be fun. Hey! Hello. It's so nice to be on the live stream. Welcome. Loud and clear, says Ruben. Hey, great. I can see the chat too, so good to be here. Welcome. Hey, I tell you what, if you're new to the streams, then welcome. If it's your first time, double special welcome to you. Let me explain to you like a little bit about how this goes down. So first of all, hello Trins in the chat too. Nice to have you here. Let me explain a little bit about how these streams work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my acting work. In particular on this stream, we're going to talk about House of the Dragon. If there's other projects you want to talk about, don't worry, we'll do that another time. I did one on Baldur's Gate 3 a while ago, and I'll do another one on Star Wars later on. In the chat, we like to keep things nice and positive. We don't do transphobia, and we don't do backseat acting. And the other thing that we like to do... Oh, yeah, also, if you super chat me over the course of the stream, then I always do my best to shout them out. If you've got like questions or comments that you super chat, usually a good idea to like keep them, short, because the chat does fly by. And the other thing we like to do is light a candle. Now it is very warm in London today, so I will not be lighting the actual candles with the flames, but I do have some special substitute ones here. Philosophy tube, so I just thought I'd use them. Hello, welcome everyone. It's nice to be back on the stream. Been a while, a few weeks, huh? Okay, so if you didn't see the last acting stream where I talked about Baldur's Gate 3, let me just kind of like explain what the deal is with these. So acting and YouTube, for a long time for me, they've been separate. They're starting to come together. And I'm really aware that my YouTube audience has played kind of a big role in this happening for me. We'll talk about how big a role in a bit, because it really ties into the story of the Prince and Nebula. And so I don't want you guys to feel, oh, Abigail's going off to Hollywood and like leaving us behind, or like she's forgetting about the channel. Like, no, I want you to feel included in this moment and in this success, because you've helped make it possible. It's thanks to you that that this is happening in a big way. So I want you to feel included, and I want to share this moment with you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Like, some of you have been watching me since back in the bookcase days, and I don't forget that. I want you to feel part of it. So yeah. Anyway, why don't we crack on? I suppose good idea to do it in like roughly chronological order, right? I've got some notes in the doc here that I just got to making sure I don't miss anything. So why don't we start by saying, okay, if you haven't seen it, if you have no idea, I was cast in a little show, you might have heard of it. It's called House of the Dragon. It is, I think, by the numbers, the biggest TV show in the world. It's on HBO Max. Well, it's just called Max now. But it's produced by HBO. It's a spin-off of Game of Thrones, which you may have heard of. Prequel to Game of Thrones, in fact. And I was introduced in the finale of season 2 as this character. Her name is Sharako Lohar. And how do I explain Sharako to someone who's never seen House of the Dragon? Okay, so House of the Dragon is about the Civil War, and there were some bad guys in season 1 who were on neither side. They were from like a different country, right? And like one of the sides had to go fight them. In this season 2, one of the two sides in the Civil War has to go to the bad guys from season 1 and be like, hey, we want your help against the other side in the Civil War, right? But in the meantime, the bad guys have a new commander. The first one was killed in season 1, and the new commander is me. So one side in the Civil War has to come to me and say, hey, let's let bygones be bygones. Come help us bash the other guys, right? And so shenanigans ensue. That's it in a nutshell. You've never seen House of the Dragon. Thank you so much to Philosinoir for that super chat. That's really kind of you. And to Lady Frankenstein 83, hey, good to have you here. So yes, this is my character, Sharako Lohar, pirate admiral, leader of a fleet of pirates who join up with one side. And at the end of the show, at the end of this particular episode and season, we see her setting sail to go and maybe unleash mayhem in season 3, to build up to this big civil war that's happening. Thank you so much, Dead Domain, for that super chat. And hey, your first super chat on the stream. Amazing. That's it in a nutshell. And now I guess it should probably tell you, like, okay, auditions. How did this come about? So the story of how I got in House of the Dragon, actually, Bethany Nicholas says, I didn't know you were in it until you were in the Honest trailers. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I've been watching them for years, and then I turned up with it. So yeah, the story of how I got in House of the Dragon actually starts about a year before with another show called The Prince. So The Prince is a play that I wrote and that I appeared in London, and that a lot of you came to see. It was funded by a streaming service called Nebula. They were our producers, and so many of you bought Nebula subscriptions and bought tickets to come and see The Prince that even though it was kind of a gamble, a streaming service paying for a play, we were actually making profit on The Prince before rehearsals even ended, which is incredible. And so thank you, Andy Hodges, for that super chat. And so The Prince then went on to do really, really well. And we also won a bunch of awards, which was fantastic. So I had already done this show that I wrote, which was about Shakespeare characters realizing they were stuck in Shakespeare and trying to break out and like crashing through the Shakespeare multiverse. And I'd already done a lot of this like running around with swords and sort of gender, how to say in a non-sweary way, because we're still at the start of the live stream and I shouldn't swear at the start. Some gender shenanigans was going on in that play. If you haven't seen it, it's on Nebula. In fact, there's a link, you can see it there's a link in the doobly-doo right now. If you haven't seen it, you can go see it. So I'd already done this. And then, just sort of, okay, file that away in your brain pockets, right? So we'd done The Prince. And then, a while ago, my then agent, my now former agent, got in touch and said, hey, Abigail, we've been asked to reach out to you. We're not sure what this show is. We're pretty sure it's House of the Dragon, but it's all quite secret at the moment. Would you like to audition for it? Thank you for that super chat, Femme Fun Time. We'll talk about Philosophy Tube episodes on a separate stream. We'll do the post-mortem for that another time. So my then agent reaches out to me and says, hey, we'd love you to audition for this role. We're not sure what the show is, but it's a really small role, like just 2 lines. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not too proud to do that. No problem. And so I do the self-tape. Fun fact, Morgana Ignis, who's my co-star in Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, read the other role, read Tywin Lannister's role, or the role that was took the place of Tywin Lannister in that audition, so that's fun. And the script was a fake script. That's pretty common in first rounds for big shows, is they give you a fake one. It was the same on Star Wars, actually. And then I thought, okay, well, 2 lines, whatever, Thank you so much, Big Goth Booty GF, for that super chat. So, oh, hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Nope. No, it's gone. Never mind. So then, I got an email saying there's going to be a second round. That's quite unusual for small roles. And my agent said it's going to be a second round with Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess, who are the executive producers of House of the Dragon, and Geeta Jackson, the director, and one of the lead actors and the head of casting. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I bet this isn't a small role. This is one of those times where they tell you it's a small role, and then you get in the room and you find out what it actually is, which is quite common, actually, in acting. You sometimes don't know what you're going up for until you get quite far along in the process. Thank you, Slimy Snail Slug, for that your first ever super chat. Yay! So I go along to the audition, and I was like listening into the door to hear the person before me and like try and gauge the room, but couldn't really determine much. And then I went in and I met Ryan and Sarah and Gita and Jefferson and everybody and the head of casting, and Ryan said, "It's Sharako Lohar, the commander of the Triarchy," and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, cool." At this point, I had seen 3 episodes of House of the Dragon. I watched the first 3 episodes of season 1 before my audition, and then I cut myself off because I didn't want to give them something they'd already seen before. I didn't want to I knew everyone else was going to go in and be like, "Oh, Game of Thrones, oh, Game of Thrones, oh, it's very serious, my lord, Game of Thrones." And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to give them something that feels organic and real and fresh. That's not me trying to second guess what they want, but it's just me going, "Hey, I'm a professional actor, here's my take on the character." And so I went in and Ryan was like, "Yeah, what we want to do with this character is bring something entirely new to the world of House of the Dragon. Like, we want to bring something fresh and new and original, an energy that we haven't seen before." And I was like, "Oh, great, perfect, fantastic, yeah, cool, because that's great, because that's exactly what I prepared." So I did the scenes again with Jefferson, and we improvised a little bit. Jefferson plays this character, Tywin Lannister, who's one of the leads, if you haven't seen it. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong window. This guy here in the front with the sort of scraggly beard. And we did this. We did a little bit of improv together, and it seemed to go well enough. I was like, I don't know, like. Hard to tell with auditions often, and so I walked out of there and I said, well, I'm probably never gonna see any of them again, because I up until that point I'd had a few auditions for big projects and I'd gotten like down to the final few and then not gotten it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna go and treat myself to some nice Chinese food, my favorite Chinese place, to have lunch in London. And so I was like, I'm never going to hear about it again. And I got myself a nice iced cherry latte, which was, I think, Cafe Nero was doing at the time. And I remember it because I was like, oh, it's really nice. And then a few weeks later, I got another email and they said, hey, we want you to do it again, round 3. This time we're going to film it and because we want to give it to you, but this time it's going to go to the network executives at HBO. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is probably kind of a big character then, isn't it? Kind of a big deal. If the network executives are getting involved, then obviously they want to make sure. Well, what they wanted to do is make sure that I could do it any way they wanted. Ryan and Sarah and Gita had a pretty clear vision of what they wanted, but I think just in case HBO were like, maybe we do want somebody to come in and go, Game of Thrones. Can she do that as well? And so I did it again on camera for them. And then a few weeks later, I got the email saying, hey, you got it. And I was like, wow, that's nuts. What was also fun is that at no point in any of this process did Philosophy Tube come up. Towards the end, my then agent actually sent them the prints and said, hey, by the way, she's got this whole other thing. Then she's played this kind of role before, running around swinging swords, being like serious but also kind of funny too. This is absolutely within her wheelhouse. So I think the prince kind of helped me get a bit of a leg up and say, hey, she's qualified to do this stuff. Thank you so much, Femme Fontaine. So yeah, that's how I got the role. And then it was time to start rehearsals. I think the first thing I did was a costume fitting. Jen Houston, thank you for that super chat, and it's your first one on the stream too. The first thing I did was go in for a costume fitting, and I met all the people I hadn't already met, and saw a little bit of the set and the workshops and stuff. I was like, wow, okay. It's kind of a big deal. Thank you, Matt Kavanagh, for that super chat. And the costume department showed me this, which is the original concept art for Sharako. And they said, what do you think? And I was like, they're asking me what I think? Like, on the biggest show in the world, they're asking me what I think? Like, that's amazing. They're not just going to tell me to stand here and, like, say, they just want a robot. They want an artist. And I was like, oh, great, this is amazing. So they showed me the original, this concept art they'd mocked up. And they said, what do you reckon? And I had already done a fair bit of work on the character at this point, because my job as an actor is to go over the script and be like, okay, what kind of person would say and do this stuff, And I had a sense of Sharako as somebody who is quite theatrical, somebody who puts on a little bit of a show to both intimidate and also throw people off, right? And so I said to them, well, I feel like she's kind of a little bit like Blackbeard, the real-life pirate Blackbeard, who covered himself in pistols and had fuses under his hat that smoked, so he looked very fearsome, so fearsome that he didn't have to fight. And he cultivated this reputation as being particularly vicious and fearsome, and that's also why he grew this big black beard, right? So he looked terrifying. And I said, I feel like she's kind of a bit like that. And they said, well, we can't give you guns, because in Game of Thrones they don't have guns, but we can give you knives. So the armorer, Tim, came in and just started putting knives on me, and I was just like, yeah, just keep going. Just a little reminder here, we don't do backseat acting. Thank you very much. They just kept putting knives on me, and I think at the end she had 8 different knives and a big steel sword as well. So we just kind of messed around with it. And the other thing that was really nice about this process is that Geeta is a real actor's director. And so we did a lot of rehearsals with her and Sarah and Jefferson, improvising again, talking about Sharako's backstory and her childhood and what she might have seen, how she got to be this person who is a little bit theatrical and a little bit extra, because the kind of theatricality of the character was very present on the page, but I wanted to find the seriousness underneath because she's got a reason for doing that. She's not just like the Joker. She's not just crazy, right? She is an admiral. She's in charge of a fleet and therefore has to have, quite a sophisticated tactical brain to plan an attack like that. She's not completely balmy. And so it was like, okay, if this is an act that she's putting on to throw people off, who is she really? Who's the serious person at the heart of her? And that was what our rehearsals and our improvisations were trying to find the core of, basically. So yeah, we did a lot of rehearsals. The other thing we did was work with the stunt team, and practice the fight that Jefferson and I have, the mud wrestling fight. And again, the stunt team were really, really kind and we really loved working with them. And they worked with me too. I was like, oh, what if we threw in this moment? What if we tried this? And the moment at the end of the mud wrestling fight where Tylan backhands Sharako across the face and we get this very womanly noise from Sharako, that was my idea. Because Tylan's if you don't know the show, Tylan kind of gets dumped on a lot. As a character, he's often made fun of. He's a bit sort of meek and weak, and he has an identical twin brother who's very strong and fearsome and charismatic. And so he sort of gets made fun of a lot. And in this final episode, he gets entrusted with this mission to go and recruit the Triarchy, the bad guys from season 1. And his journey in this episode is sort of finding his fire a little bit, finding his strength and realizing, you know what, I can do this. And Sharako is there to facilitate his character growth, right? And so I wanted there to be this moment where Tylan, he's often got a sort of chivalrous and buttoned up character. I wanted him to have this moment where he does something quite vicious that he wasn't expecting. He surprises himself by, backhanding Sharako. And that's what she wanted, is to push him out of his comfort zone and see, okay, is this guy a real lily-livered, clean-handed, politician, or has he actually got some strength and some fire to him? And I think Sharako is surprised. So we had this mud wrestling scene where for most of it I'm completely kicking his ass. and then he surprises me, and he punches me in the gut and flips me over and then slaps me in the face. The blood is fake, don't worry, it's like corn syrup. And so she's surprised by his sudden show of strength and is a little bit impressed by him, right? So we rehearsed all of that, and we were pretty much ready. And then we got to the actual day itself. and I can't remember which scene we shot first now. I think I've got like 4 scenes. There's one. I think the one where we meet was first. I think. Yeah. It was. It was this one where we meet for the first time. And so. Oh, great question, LS, who asks, did your impressions of the character change when you first acted in costume with props and when you first read the part? Yes, definitely. So a lot of the physical studies that I did when I was first creating the character were based on her being quite nimble. I do a lot of animal studies when I create characters, so I use like a lot of monkeys and studying the way they move. And then when I found she had all her weapons on and her boots on, she's very heavy and she's very weighed down. So trying to combine that energy of somebody who wants to get up and go, but who is quite weighed down. And feeling that push and pull in her was something that like the costume and everything really helped with. It put the brakes on her a little bit in a way that I quite like and I felt she quite needs. So, JP says, was the philosopher line your idea? No, actually, that was complete coincidence and could not be changed because of the writer's strike. So one of my first lines is I say about Tyler, I'm like, who is this guy? Is he a poet? Is he a philosopher? And I knew when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, philosophy chief fans are going to like this one. And I tried to explain this to the producer. I was like, people are going to like this line. And they were like, why? And I was like, I have a YouTube, don't worry about it. So yeah. I was a little bit nervous on day one, but I had prepared and I had done my character creation work, all that improv and all that physical character study. I mean, another thing that I did to create the character is I like to incorporate things that a character might wear into my daily wardrobe. So I got a pair of really big heavy boots and I put them on and I just went kind of stomping around London and I turned up to rehearsals in them too, like big heavy knee-length boots. And I was just practicing, feeling what it's like to walk around in like big heavy gear like that. And also I went to the gym a lot and I put on a bit of muscle because I knew we'd have this fight scene to do. And I also I did a lot of Michael Chekhov technique and a lot of Laban technique. If you know your acting theory, that'll mean something to you. If you don't, then I have a future video essay on acting technique, which will go into the weeds of that. So anyway, day one, we turn up, we do this scene where we meet for the first time, and I give them a few different versions on this because I decided what I wanted to do with Sharako is to give her an arc through the episode, right? So part of telling a story as an actor is giving your characters emotional arcs throughout the whole show. Thank you so much to Andy Hodges for that super chat. Andy of 10th super chat on the stream. So I wanted to give her this arc because I could have just turned up. Thank you, Julia Cock, for that super chat. And it's your first too, hooray! So I wanted to give her this arc throughout the episode. I could have just turned up in the first scene and been the same way I was in the final one, just be like, who's this guy? A poet, a philosopher? Not like that, not like a mafia boss, but you know what I mean. But I wanted to send her on an emotional journey. So we planned, okay, when she first meets this guy from Westeros, who we've been at war with, what's she like? So that's why in the first scene when we meet her, she's very cold. She's very like, who the fuck is this guy? Right, I'm not gonna sail with him. No way. I refuse. She just shuts down. She gives him nothing until he shows a little bit of bravery, and we get this moment where she turns around and she's like, okay, big man, you want to go? You want to challenge me? All right, let's have some fun. And also Jefferson and I talked a lot about like, all right, what happens when she and Thailand leave the tent? What happens between this moment and the moment we see them mud wrestling? So we talked about like what that conversation involves. We improvised a little bit of it too, which is fun. We did this first scene where they meet for the first time, and we kind of established a little bit of this energy. And then we shot the penultimate scene, which I don't have any screenshots of, where they have this banquet, and she has to proposition him. She's like, I want you to sleep with my wives and me. And she has this, suddenly we've gone from this place of like, I hate this guy, I'm giving him nothing, to, okay, maybe this guy's kind of cool, to like, this guy's great. First of all, I'm going to go to war with him. And we get this moment where she's like, yeah, we're going to go to war. And actually, he's serious, Sharako, the tactician, thinking, okay, tomorrow we sail and we go to fight, right? And then we get this moment where she's like, by the way, I kind of like you. You want to go? You want to go back? You want to go back to my place? Or in my place? You want to go back to my room, right? While everyone else is partying. And he has this really flustered reaction. And we tried a few different versions of this moment. There was one where she just says it very offhandedly and very casually, like just like, "Oh, I want you to sleep with my wives," and then just turns away from him. And the joke is that like he's in a foreign country and doesn't know their customs. And I decided actually I want to play this line as seduction. I want to play this as her being like, "I want you to come and have sex with my wives," you know. And I remember this moment on set where we thought we got it, the first version, and then I said to Geeta, the director, I was like, actually, Geeta, would you mind if we did just one more? And she goes, yeah, okay, let's do one more, over to you. And as they were setting up for the take, I had this moment in my head, I was like, okay, Abigail, the biggest show in the world just said, over to you. How do you want to play it? $20 million an episode? It's lights, it's camera, it's action, everyone's here, camera's on you. How are you going to do it, babes? And so we did a few versions where I played this line and this scene as a seduction scene. And that we even did one where, like, as I'm talking to Jefferson, I reached over and I was, like, unbuttoning his tunic. And then I realized it had a zip on the back because it's, like, fake. So we had to cut and go again. But I played it as a seduction, and that was my idea, being like, I want to play it as she's seducing him, and that was the take they used, and I was like, wow, that was a really validating moment as an actor, to be like, okay, I want to give this character an emotional arc, I want to give her a journey, and I planned it and executed it. And the other thing we wanted to do is give her a very different energy than all the other characters, and it was just it's really validating that people picked up on those choices, and that people enjoyed them. So yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. And I watched it. Oh, so we also had a little bit of ADR to do, which is additional dialogue recording, which is like if your microphone gets muffled or like there's a background noise when you deliver your line, sometimes you go into a studio with a microphone like this and you do the line again and you lip sync basically. So we had a little bit of that to do, and that was the first time I saw any of the footage, is when I went in to do the ADR, which was a lot of fun. Mink 1973 says, I'm shipping them. Yeah, me too. That was what I wanted you to do. I'm so glad, because the other thing I decided to do was, Sharako is a very tough character, right? And we only really see her in this episode with Thailand. Part of building a character is thinking about the relationships they have with other people, right? Who are they when they're with their mum and dad? Who are they when they're with their worst enemy? Who are they when they're with someone they just met? Who are they when they're with their lover, right? And we only see her with Thailand in this scene. And so it was up to me to find those extra moments to go, okay, how do we see another side of her in this moment? So for instance, the line where she's like, off to war tomorrow, and like, may the sea snake rue the day we meet again, right? We get this moment of, oh, suddenly she's quite serious. So we see like, oh, who is she when she's thinking about her worst enemy, right? And so we get, and that was also why it was important for me for her to go on this arc, so we see more of her. So we see who Thailand is to her by the end of the episode. And there's this moment where she says, it's something like, you're more than I thought, or like, you've proven yourself most accommodating, and more than one would think to look at you. And there's this moment where she looks at him and she's actually like, I kind of like this guy a little bit. And she's sort of surprised at that. And so I wanted to have this moment where at the end of the episode we see just a little bit of sweetness, because we established that she has a lot of wives, and we established behind the scenes that the wives are there consensually. So I was like, okay, Sharako isn't just a warrior and a sort of like theatrical, somebody who's like, you know, the ocean joker, right? She must have a little bit of a sweet side to her. She must have like a bit of a, she must be a lover too. And so we get just a little hint of Sharako the lover there, as somebody who is quite like, you know, surprised by herself, somebody who can feel affection. And she has that moment with affection towards him, and then she goes to the sexy, right? So, it's quite nice. So yeah. And then we had 2 more scenes to shoot after that. We had the mud wrestling scene. Which was a long old day and a challenging day. So I was up at something like 4 a.m. to do this one. And the mud is real. It's not chocolate sauce. It's real mud. And they took all the bits of broken glass and stuff out of it. The palm trees in the background. So this was actually filmed in Surrey, not a place known for its palm trees. The palm trees, they brought them in on trucks and like stuck them in holes in the ground. That's how they do it. And if you go back and you watch the scene, then you'll see there's like an eagle and a goat and like horses and stuff in the background. Like it was a whole thing. And so we shot this mud wrestling scene, and we must have shot it like, I don't even know how many takes we did. We were going all day on that one, and I'd done all my physical training, so I was ready. I was physically fit. We rehearsed it. My fantastic stunt double Tilly did a little bit of it. So the bit where she actually gets punched, that was Tilly, because you're allowed to punch stunt doubles. You're not allowed to punch actors for insurance reasons. I felt bad. I said to Tilly, like, Tilly, I don't want you to get punched. Like, I can take the hit. She was like, no, like, I'm insured. This is what I'm here for. So the moment where she gets punched in the guts, that's Tilly. And like a couple of bits where you see Sharako from the back, that's Tilly. Who is like my height and looks like me. Like it's really quite uncanny to meet your own stunt double. It's kind of every time I meet a stunt double, or a body double. I met my body double on Star Wars too. That was quite a weird moment. But yeah, this was filmed in Surrey. It was quite cold that day, but HBO kept us going with like ginger and lemon and coffee and chocolate and stuff. They were really, really good to us, actually. Thank you, Black is the New Black, for that super chat and your first one ever. Yeah, I mean, like in general, I really, I just want to be like, I love big corporation, right? And I'm kind of biased, obviously, because they employed me. But genuinely, like, I'm happy to say HBO took really good care of me, at least, like start to finish. Everything from like the transport to stuff, like the food was really nice. And also, I can't tell you all the details of this because some of this is like behind the scenes stuff, but the trans inclusiveness, the way they were just like totally nice and totally chill with me was amazing. And like set the bar. It was so nice. Everyone from the costume department, like accommodating costume to my body, to like the producers calling me up being like, what do you think about this moment? Are you happy with this? To even like the marketing people, like I've had conversations with Diego, who's the head of marketing at HBO, about like, this is how we want to talk about the character in press releases, like, are you comfortable with it? And like, they were so nice. They were so good. Yeah, they set the bar. Stunt team too, like, were fine adapting stuff to my body, and like Geeta was great as well. Like it was, the whole thing was just wonderful. Because there's this moment where Sharako is first introduced in the first scene, where one of the characters says, you've got to talk to the commander. He is the biggest, baddest pirate around. You've got to persuade him. And then in walks Sharako, right? And they didn't think about like cis or trans when they wrote it. It's parts just written for a cis woman, right? They just wanted someone over 6 foot. They weren't thinking about cis or trans. And so there was this moment where they're like, oh, we've just cast a trans actress, and she gets called he and him on screen. Like, what's the vibe with that? And they asked me about it, and the senior producers called me again and said, like, what do you think about this? Which is like amazing. Like, the producers on the biggest show in the world called me and said, Abigail, what do you think about this? And I was like, wow. They could have just decided, but they spoke to me about it. And so I said, you know what? I think it's fine, because the butt of the joke in this scene is Thailand. The joke is that he doesn't know what he's walked into. He doesn't get it. The joke is that and also like that's part of the themes of season 2 is that women are getting more and more powerful and men just don't get it. Like, that's part of Emma Darcy's arc, Queen Rhaenyra's arc in this whole season. Emma Darcy's non-binary, Queen Rhaenyra is a woman. That's part of Queen Rhaenyra's whole arc. So I said I think it's fine because, like, yeah, joke's on Thailand, not on Sharako. She's just doing her thing and she doesn't give a damn what people say, so who cares? I said, can she be she, her in all the marketing? And like, is it okay if I call her she, her? She's she, her in the script too. And they're like, yeah, sure, that's what we're going to do anyway. And I was like, great, cool, I don't have a problem with it then. So just like start to finish, they were completely cool. And yeah, I'm going to say I got a lot of love for them for that. Again, not to be like, I love big corporation, but this time I do love big corporation. Because they really did set the bar. So people are asking in the chat, is Sharako cis or trans? If it's important to the show, you'll find out in the show. If it's not important, you won't find out. And that is cool for me. What I also like is that the show doesn't specify if she's cis or trans, but the one thing the show definitely does specify is that she is a woman. And because it the whole thing doesn't work unless she is. So I really like that. It kind of, the show refuses to tell you the answer to that, which I like. Thank you so much, Rafe, for that super chat. That's really kind of you. So after we did the mud wrestling scene, then there was one little bit left to do, which was this shot. This was my final day on set. This was like a whole different setup. And this was one of my favorites. Oh, somebody says, can you decrease the volume of the background music? Yeah, sure I can. Let me just take it down a little for you. Thank you, Corey Malleys, for that super chat. And your first ever one. Yay. So yeah, the final shot was this one. This moment where they're like, we're sailing off to war and we get the build up of the dun 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 dun, like a big theme music moment, right? So this was on the deck of the pirate ship, which, let me tell you, was about 10 foot by 10 foot wooden square with like 5 foot of mast coming out of it. Like, no, 7 foot of mast coming out of it. And then the rest is all blue screen. We're in like a back lot here, right? Looking at a blue screen. And it's on a gimbal, so it like moves like the ocean. So as you walk across the deck, you have to like move as if you're on a real boat, which is amazingly cool. And then there was a wind machine and a rain machine, which was, there's a guy like just here out of shot with a leaf blower and a hose, just like blowing it in our faces. Me and Jefferson were just trying not to laugh because like my wig was going in my mouth and this guy was like faces. It was so funny. And we had this big serious moment, and like I've got this lip scar, this fake scar that they've given me, and like it was so like it was very very funny. And that was my final shot. And then just to cap it off, again, like white glove treatment. That was so nice to me. Just to cap it off, Ryan, who's like the senior exec producer on House of Dragon, Ryan Condal, came to the set where he knew I was having my final shot to shake my hand and say, thank you so much for being on, and like, great work. And I was just like, the boss came down and said, great work. I was like, wow, that is so nice. So yeah, that was my time on the show. That was how we did it. And all in all, I had like 3, 4, 5 weeks of shooting time with them. Yeah, that was it. That's how we did it. That's House of the Dragon, baby. So before we talk about what I think of the show and like the reception to it, why don't we talk to chat for 5 minutes? So if you've got questions, chuck them in now, and then we'll talk about like my 3 criteria for acting. And I'm gonna take a little drink too because I'm warm. Hannah Eichinger says, so happy I caught this live. Yay! JB Baladad, thank you for that super chat. Hey. Oh, you found Philosophy Chief through House of the Dragon? Oh, amazing. Welcome. Thanks so much. Rinka Sarf says, and then your character died? I have not seen the show. No, she didn't die. She is alive at the end of season 2. Devin McManus says, was it your idea to keep getting his name wrong? No, that's all in the script. The writer's strike was on at the time, so we couldn't change any of the script. it all had to be performed exactly as written. So. Glowfit says, did you audition for the part? Yeah, I talked about that at the top of the stream. There were like 3 rounds of auditions. I talked all about that earlier on. People are saying, will you be back for season 3? Oh, ambulance going past. Season 3 will, I think, be filmed in 2025, is what they've said. The way it works, so season 3 is definitely going to happen. There is going to be a House of the Dragon season 3. HBO have like paid for it, I think. But the way it works is contracts for cast won't go out until quite late in the game. I think they're currently writing it. And then I would imagine that contracts for cast would be going out like early 2025. And like the leads will get their contracts first. So like Matt and Emma will get their contracts and then everybody else, right? I won't be getting a contract for that until, I would guess, like 2025. And I never celebrate until I have signed the contract, because anything can happen in TV land. Maybe they recast the role, maybe I fall down the stairs and break my legs. You never know. Maybe they decide to go in a completely different direction. We do a time skip in season 3, and like 5 years later, and Sharako's not in anymore. You never know. So I don't officially know anything about whether or not I'm in season 3. Obviously, I'd like to be. And HBO know that I'm very happy to return and do anything for them, like 1 million episodes or like 30 seconds, like, because I loved working with them. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to celebrate until I've signed the contract, because it's happened to me in the past that like I've been offered a role and then it's been taken away. It doesn't happen. TV land is very unpredictable, so we'll see. Fingers crossed, but yeah. Ask Ye Shall Receive, great screen name, says, have you read the book? So House of the Dragon is based on a book by George R.R. Martin called Fire and Blood. And yeah, during the audition phase, I read the bits of the book that Sharako is in. And she's not a hugely prominent part in the books, and also in the book she's a man. They gender bent it for the show. Yeah, I read the bits that I'm in, but my job as an actor is to serve the text as the screenwriter portrays it, so yeah. JB Baladad says, do you improvise mispronouncing Thailand's name? No, that was all in the script, and improv wasn't allowed because the writer's strike was on. That technically counts as writing, so even if you're writing in the moment, so no, there was no improv allowed. Kako Daemonia says, I loved your colourful outfit in the episode. Did you get any insight into the reasons for the costume design? Yeah, they wanted Sharako to be something very different than what we've seen before, basically, is the answer. They wanted her to stand out amongst the other characters, to instantly, visually be like, okay, who's this? So yeah, that was the reasoning behind it, I think. And also she is somebody who is very theatrical and puts on a bit of an act. They wanted it to reflect that too. Sandre Bolsh says, how many wives does Sharako have? The writers don't say. And I don't have the power to declare it canon, so. Giovanni Agnelli, thank you so much for that super chat. Don't worry, I'm not going to stop creating Philosophy Tube. I've been researching the next one today. I'm researching it now. Efriel Latroy says, what was the reception like? Well, why don't we move on a little bit and we'll talk about the reception shortly. So I've got like a list of points I want to hit. I've got my notes open here. So yeah, let's keep going. But first, Mila Goldsmith says, when improv isn't allowed, does that mean word for word, letter for letter in the script? Yes, it is. DLP is what we call it. Dead letter perfect. Has to be exactly as it is. McLeod2692 says, what's the biggest casting highlight of your career this year? Star Wars or House of the Dragon? They're both awesome for different reasons. We'll talk about Star Wars another time, but yeah. I have 3 criteria that I judge my own acting performance by when I've done a job, and they are: did I do my character preparation? am I listening to my scene partners, and am I serving the text? And if I've done all three of those things, then I know I can walk away from the set and feel good. And I similarly, long-time viewers of the live streams will know, I have 3 criteria I judge philosophy tube videos by, which are different. So I realized a while ago that, because acting, it's easy to get really in your head, right? It's easy to be like, oh God, did I do a good job? It's like, especially when it's like a $20 million machine, right? It's easy to get in your head and get anxious. And so also, it's not a business where you get a lot of feedback in the moment. People don't come over and they go, great job, right? Often it's, or even bad job, right? Often it's just like, cool, we got it, we're moving on. Like it's a process, it's a machine. You're all there to like do a job, right? Thank you, Sarah A, for that super chat. So you don't always get a lot of like feedback in the moment. And so I knew I needed some criteria to judge my own work by, and also to try and improve by, you know, because I want to get better all the time. That's part of what being professional means. And so I developed these 3 criteria. So the first one, did I do my character preparation? Yes, definitely. I did a lot of rehearsals before I set foot on set, both on my own and with the rest of the production team. All those animal studies I did, all that Michael Chekhov and Laban stuff I did, all the character improvisations I did on my own and in rehearsals, like all the childhood stuff, all the backstory stuff, all the imagery that we created, all the like sensory pictures that we built up. Yes, definitely did a lot of character preparation. Big tick, Abigail, for that one. Secondly, am I listening to my scene partners? Which means like, am I giving them an energy that chimes with what they're giving me? And I think watching the scenes back, I think, yeah, I am. I think like Tylen's giving me this like nervous, slightly like, oh, not sure what's going on here. And I'm giving him a complimentary energy, which is like, yes, come here, little mouse. Like, especially in that banquet scene, right? And the first scene where we meet each other, which I think is, personally, as an actor, the trickiest scene of the ones that I did. That scene, because I have to be like I'm not giving you anything, right? And that silent anger, which is quite a difficult place to like sit in, without it, you know, getting the itch to either do something or it becoming kind of like dull, right? And so that I think was the trickiest scene. But again, he has this like flustered, panicked energy. He's sort of a little bit all over the place, and she's very still and very angry. So listening to the scene partner, giving them complimentary energy, yes, I think so. Giving them a tick there. Also, in the fight scene that we did together, like, nobody was hurt, which is the most important thing. I think, I trust, I hope that everyone felt respected and safe. So that's the most important thing too. Safety, always, when you're doing stunts and stuff. And finally, am I serving the text, which is to say, am I telling the story of this episode? So the story beats we need to hit in this episode are Tylen finding his fire, that's one of them. Another one is, brand new character who's something very, very different. So, okay, gotta embody that too. And also, we're off to war. There's like the actual plot of the series that we have to communicate to. So part of serving the text and telling the story is like, fundamental stuff, like, can the audience hear you? Can they see you? If you're on camera and you like have an important line, are you delivering it in such a way that the audience can actually see what you're thinking, right? There's sort of fundamental things like that. That's what we mean by serving the text. And again, like, if you watch this episode, I think you can understand what is happening. I think you can see what Sharako is doing. You can understand that she's someone very, very different and like who like doesn't seem to fit in this world and poses an interesting challenge. I think you can understand what's going through her head with regards to Thailand. You understand by the end of the episode that she is sailing off to war with him, and maybe get a little bit of a hint about why. And you also understand that she's brought something out of him that he didn't think was there. So serving the text, yes, I think so. Yeah. So tick, tick, tick. I'm happy with the work I did on this. Having watched it back, I'm like, okay, cool. That is exactly what they wanted me to do, and it feels creative and real, and I feel like I created a real 3D person, very eccentric person. Not a typical average everyday kind of a person, but this character who, I think if you watch her closely, you can understand that the theatricality and the extraness is kind of an act. And there are a couple of moments where you see underneath, you see the warrior, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a tiger that's very proud of its stripes, you know. It wants you to notice the stripes because then you're not looking at the claws, right? So that was the fun I had with her. Oh, For the Love LDS says, great question, says, how does time management work when you're an actor? For example, how much time do you spend preparing, determining your own hourly wage? I think if you try to determine your hourly wage as an actor, you will quickly get upset because acting is not a job that pays a lot of money. Even at this level, I am restricted by my contract from saying how much I was paid, but I am allowed to say that I shot Star Wars and House of the Dragon in the same year, and I paid more in rent that year than I was paid for both those jobs combined. Acting is not a job that you get into for money. It's a job that you get into because you love it. So I don't calculate my hourly wage because also time flies when you're having fun. When I'm doing the thing that I love, which is acting and creating characters, I'll happily do it, and I'll like forget to eat. You know, I do it because I love it, not because I'm counting pennies. Yeah. Walayan says, is there anything you're willing to share that you'd rather happen differently? Oh, you mean like any notes to myself? That's a great question. That's a really good question, actually. Well, there's always a couple of moments I'm like, I wish they'd used a different take, you know? But then again, I understand why they used the takes they did. Yeah, there's also, like, I don't want to say stuff that, like, criticizes the editors or the producers or whatever. But there's always a couple of moments like, you know, I'd do it a little differently with another go. But also at the same time, like, you can get mad thinking about that kind of stuff. And also, I think I'm a better actor now than I was even when I shot that, because now I've done this, which is a great experience, and I've also shot Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, which I think is, having seen it now, an early cut of it, I think Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend is the best acting work I've done so far. And so, you know, yeah, you're improving all the time. Like, there's always stuff you wish you could have done differently. But I think so. I asked Geeta to observe this as we were on set, and I also set it for myself, especially in the first scene, to not do too much, because a lot of my acting, like I started out training in theatre, I was worried about like, okay, I don't want to be too big here, too much. So a lot of what we do, especially in that first scene where we meet, is very, very minimal. And so I think in certain moments there I could almost have gone a little further. There's an exercise that I sometimes do, which is called like physicalizing the text, which is in rehearsal in your own time. You go as big as you possibly can with it, and you almost like act out every single word, and you create an image for every single word. And that's just a way of making sure that every line has a little bit of color in it, that nothing's lost, right? And so I could have maybe do that a little bit more, especially for the first scene when we meet. That like a poet, a philosopher, you know. But then again, the note that I was playing was I wanted to make sure I did as little as I could. So yeah, there's always stuff you could have done differently, but like learning to accept that you can't go back and change it, and like the performance you gave is the performance you gave, and they're happy with it, otherwise they would have got you to do it again. And like trusting your director and trusting your producers and your editors is part of it. But yeah, there's always moments you're like, I wish they'd use like a different take, or I wish they'd do that, or why'd they do that on this shot, like, but no, I mean, yeah. Oh yeah. So my 3 criteria, I was very happy with the work that I did. That's also where I like. That's also why I have the. This is why I have my 3 criteria, right? Because otherwise you can just go mad. There has to be a point where I go, okay, I'm walking away, and I'm happy with what I did, or I go, I'm not happy. I want to do more of this the next time, right? So, yeah. Nyla Hawthorne says, did you do the mud fight or did they have a stunt double on set? So we actually talked about that earlier on, and the answer is both. But you can rewind the stream and you can see what we said then. Debbie Brady, Future Shaper, says, do you ever get a chance to ask for another take? Yeah, sometimes. Again, I mentioned earlier on in the time that I did that. So, so now let's talk a little bit about the reception. So I had a feeling that the internet was going to like this character, because, you know, trans woman, I'm a trans woman, the character may or may not be, the show doesn't say, but I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure my online following is going to make this a big deal. Sure enough, I was right. So when the press screenings went out, I got an email from Diego, the head of marketing at HBO, and Abigail, we weren't really planning on including you in a lot of the press for season 2. We'd had that discussion already, by the way. I said totally fine. She's in one episode. You know, they put the leads in for the most of the press interviews. I was like not demanding that they put me on the red carpet or anything. But I got an email from him after the presses went out saying, hey, we've got a lot of outlets that want to talk to you about Sharako. And I was like, let's go then. So I did some interviews in pretty rapid succession with Inverse and with Vulture and with Decider. And there were articles in Elle magazine, and then like a whole bunch of other stuff. So the publicity got kind of wild. It was a very very exciting time. And then things got even wilder because this was sent to me by a fan a few days ago. This is IMDb's list of the most searched for celebrities in the world this week actually, and I'm number 6. I am just above Ryan Reynolds, which is kind of wild. I was surprised and a little intimidated and scared. And then there's people, memes and fan art and fan fiction, and yeah, it's kind of been wild. The reaction has been bigger than I imagined, bigger than I thought. I have a friend who works in entertainment journalism who monitors a lot of search traffic, and she said that after episode 5 of the show came out, Sharako was the dominant search for the back half of the season. She's, in terms of like internet search, she's the breakout character of the season. And it's like, oh, okay, like that sort of thing can, in some worlds, make a big difference to one's career. So it certainly makes a big difference to press, right? So yeah, kind of wild. Oh, Man of War says, I came to your channel because of House of the Dragon. Oh, thank you so much. Welcome. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this polyamory.jpg is quite fun. Yeah, the reception was wild. It was kind of unbelievable. I think it made me very reflective, and also I guess like, okay, so the Philosophy Tube live streams are a place where I can really be honest and let you know how I really feel, right? So after all that press and the interviews and stuff, it was really wonderful, amazing, wild week, and I felt really good. And then I got really depressed. This often happens with me when I go and I do a big thing, like we filmed Jackie's Ex-Girlfriend, and then I come home, or like we do a big week of press, House of the Dragon comes out, and like I went out with my friends and we all went out for drinks on the night the episode came out, and I did all the interviews, and then I spent a week being really depressed because I'm someone who like never really feels like she's good enough. And I have these rare moments of like, yes, I did it. I'm good enough. Like I've earned this like bit of chocolate, or I've like earned this drink, or and then I have to go back and I have to like, I have to clean the toilets and I have to empty the bins and I have to go to the grocery store. And in that moment when I have to do all that stuff again, I feel I've let everyone down. because I'm like, oh, I'm not doing the special thing anymore. And that's just something I have to work on. That's just something that I need to think about, and get better at. I think it's especially compounded by the fact that I'm a trans woman in Britain with a great deal of prominence, because trans people, if you don't know, we are made to live with some quite bad material conditions on average in the UK. It's very difficult to do things like get healthcare, and we still don't have equal legal rights in many respects. And I know that a lot of trans people know who I am, and some look up to me and feel hope or happiness at what I'm managing to succeed at. And so in those moments where I'm doing like the big thing, and I'm like, yay, I'm doing it, like I'm helping those people, and then I have to go and take the bins out, and I feel I've let everyone down. So I had the big happiness, and then I had a big crash, and I felt very depressed for a while, and I've only really come out of that a couple of days ago, and I get over it. Like, I go to the gym, I sleep, I rest, and I start to feel better. Yeah, there's that too. That's part of the journey. And I'm working on that too, Jen Houston, who would Sharako want to wife out of the ladies of House of the Dragon? Given the choice between Rhaenyra and Alicent, I think Sharako would go for Alicent. Sorry, not Alicent. Would go for Rhaenyra just for the challenge. I think she'd go for Rhaenyra just for the challenge. Yeah. Anyway, that was part of the journey for me. Was that week of depression, and it happened after we finished shooting Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. It'll happen no doubt after the premiere of Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend in September. Yeah. Debbie Brady says you should feel proud of how far you've come. Yeah. It's funny, that was part of what got me out of the depression. I was just about to come onto that, actually, was that I remembered a conversation I hadn't thought about in so long, when I was at university with my then partner in her flat, in her bed, thinking and saying to her, like, I think after university I think I want to go to drama school for real and become an actor for real, not just act in plays and stuff when I can, but to really do it as a profession. And I remember her being like, yeah, I'll support you, like, not financially, but like, I'll stick with you, I believe in you. I remember that conversation. I should text her, actually. I mean, we haven't seen each other in years, but we broke up a long time ago. But I should text her and remind her of that conversation. But yeah, I remembered that, and I looked back on that moment like 10 years ago and been like, wow, I really did it. I auditioned for drama school a lot. I think I must have had like 12 or 14 auditions for drama school, which is pretty typical in the UK. It's seriously competitive here. And I remembered how when I went to drama school, my YouTube audience supported me, and like Patreon paid my rent in drama school. It still does. Acting helps, but actually still YouTube is what pays the bills. So I reflected on that amazing long road and how I got into drama school, and I worked my butt off when I was there, and then I went to so many auditions. Like, I've been to a lot, and no doubt will still go to a lot. You don't get 99% of jobs, and like the industry's in a real bad place right now. But when I went out for drinks with my friends the night the episode of House of the Dragon came out, I just sort of raised the glass and reflected on what an amazing journey it's been, that in a lot of ways is really overwhelming, and like luck and privilege has played a huge role in it. And the other weird thing is, like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Maybe I'll be in season 3 of House of the Dragon and we'll get to do it all over again. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll never work again. You never know with acting. Like, the industry's in a very rough place right now, and I'll be honest with you, auditions are pretty thin on the ground right now. Thank God for Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, because not a lot of work out here right now. maybe I'll never work again. You never know. It can happen. People win Oscars and then don't work for years. That's just what the industry's like. So, it's wild. It's really wild. Just gotta enjoy it, I guess. Try not to put too much pressure on myself. When, you know me, I always do. So, no doubt I will. But anyway, I thought it was a good chance to... I mean, again, that's why I want to include you all in this and do these live streams, because my YouTube audience has been such a huge part of this journey. So... yeah. Thank you. Hope you liked the show. I liked it. I liked being part of it. This is one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. Doing this job made me so happy. Just so happy. I love acting. There's nothing like it. It's like a complete creative immersion, flow. When I get to meet a character for the first time in my head, and it's like meeting someone new. It's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so we've been going just over an hour. Why don't we hang out a little bit for a moment? Ooh, Adored Pariah in the chat. I just want to warn you, we have an absolute rule against backseat acting here. I really should ban you for that. Maybe I'm just going to pretend not to see that. I think probably you've walked just up to the line there. Just be careful, please. Jen Houston. Oh, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of it. Welcome to the show. Oh, Rose Sarafilovich, thank you for reminding me. You mentioned a bit ago, Sharako is a new type of role that trans women can play. Yeah, that was something that also really excited me about this, because I mentioned earlier on that I'd had a few auditions before House of the Dragon, that I'd gone up for something and I'd almost gotten a role and then lost out. And like I had lost out on roles to some, I won't mention who, but like fairly prominent trans women actors. And I was really despairing, because a lot of the big trans women actors in the world, like Hunter Schafer, Hari Neff, like Yasmin Finney, India Moore, they're all ex-runway models. And also, being blunt, a lot of them transitioned as kids. And so they like, have a certain look. They're all like very beautiful and very snatched. And they all look like models, because that's what they are, right? And a lot of the roles for trans women that we get invited to audition for are written for women like that. It's often like sassy best friend. I mean, like think of Hunter Schafer's role in Euphoria, right? Or, you know, India Moore in Pose, right? They're these modern sassy roles. And that's not really where I got my start. Like you know me, I started out doing Shakespearean sword fighting and like riding horses and shit, you know? And I didn't transition as a child, and I didn't go to modeling school. I transitioned at the age of 20. And, you know, I went to university and studied philosophy. And so I lost out on a few roles to some pretty prominent trans women. And I thought, man, like, I'm never going to get anywhere because I just don't look right. And I thought, I just don't have the right body. Which, if you're trans, like, you can imagine what I was thinking, right? I was thinking, oh, God, like, I'm so... didn't feel good about it. And then along comes Sharako, and they're like, oh, we don't care about cis or trans. We want a woman who's over 6 foot who can kick ass. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'd love to. Yes, please, sign me up. I will love this. This is what I've been made for. And so I got to do that. And I said to Sarah at the rap party, I was like, thank you for letting me do this, because the idea that a trans woman can play an action role hasn't yet occurred to anyone outside this room. And when it does, it's going to blow their minds. And she was like, oh, yeah, like, no problem. We honestly didn't even think about that. Like, you know, you smashed your audition. You were awesome. So, yeah, you were the best on the day. Like, we don't care about that. Come on in. So, Jen Houston said, if possible, which dragon would Sharako want to claim? Ooh, that's a great question. I feel like she and Vermithor would be besties. Although, you know, we'll see next season whether they get on. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited for this role quietly as a little bit of trans rep. The role itself may be cis or maybe trans, we don't know. The show hasn't said. But just as an actor, I'm excited for it. And it's funny. I've been sent a lot of scripts for movies and pilots recently, and badass trans femme anti-heroine is very in right now. There's a lot of people trying to get stuff with characters like that in it made, which is exciting. I obviously can't say what, but like, yeah, I've been sent some pilots for series recently and movies and stuff, and who knows, maybe they'll never get made, but like, yeah. Kind of exciting. I hope that more roles like this in future would be nice. Oh, Julia Castro says Cannibal. Yeah, good call actually. Yes, that's a really good call. Cannibal would be a good dragon for Sharako, especially when they're like they're eating the flesh of your enemies line. Like, yeah, good call. What was the weirdest part of filming? Asked Lesedi Diamini. Huh. That's an interesting question. You know, when you're there and there's a monkey and 100 extras and you know, an eagle and palm trees in Surrey, nothing becomes weird. You're just like, you know what? It might be weird to me, but it's not weird to Sharako. So here we go. Yeah. There it is. And now I guess, why don't we talk a little bit about what's next? So what's next is Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. If you're not aware of it, Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend is a short film that I wrote and that I'm also in. You can see me here. It's about two women dealing with the trauma they got from their ex, and they're both vampires because their ex is Count Dracula. This is me, Morgana Ignis, and Brandon Rogers in a screenshot in the film. And it comes out in like a few weeks on Nebula. If there's a link to Nebula in the description of this video where you'll be able to see Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend when it drops. I'm really excited for this. I think so. We filmed this after I filmed House of the Dragon. I think it's some of the best work that I've ever done. I think I'm also quite proud of the writing too. So this is what I'm going to be doing next in my acting career. And also the premiere of this is going to be in September. So I'm super excited for that too. That's going to be in LA. If you're in LA, and you're going to be in LA, I'm not allowed to say the date of the premiere yet, but if you're going to be in LA in early September, then at some point soon, tickets will be available to the premiere. I think probably they'll go out to Nebula subscribers first. So again, if you don't have Nebula, link in the doobly-doo. But if you are in LA and you want to come to the premiere and like see us all on the red carpet and watch the film with us a week before anyone else can, and you're in LA or you can get to LA, keep an eye on my socials and there'll be announcements about the premiere, I would imagine, fairly soon. So yeah. Yeah. There it is. Immortal Ex-Girlfriends is such a good setup for examining relationships, says Hannah H. Yeah, definitely. Elise Jarrow, thank you for that super chat. Oh, yay. Melanie Wood says, Abby noticed me. No. So yeah, this is my next project, Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. I'm super excited for it. I'll talk more about it another time. I'm gonna do a mini video essay on acting theory and like direction and stuff to do with Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend when it comes out. Not an episode of Philosophy Tube, but just like a mini video essay. So yeah, we'll do that when it comes out. I think that's all. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Where is it? Here. On YouTube, there's this little behind the scenes documentary that they make about how they make House of the Dragon. Here we go. Let me scroll down so you can see the titles. If you want to see some more about me and like the costume and stuff, then if you're some people are cosplayers and they've asked me like, where can we see the costume up close? This is where you can see it. Yeah, here you go. If you want to see more about the behind the scenes process of Sharako, then there she is. Jen Houston says, is Dracula's ex-girlfriend going to be Women Love Women? Wait and see. Wait and see. So yeah, that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about for this live stream. We've been going an hour and 15 minutes. Why don't we hang out for another 10 minutes and I'll take questions from the chat if people like. Yeah. Man of War says, are you going to collab with Alt Shift X? Yeah, they interviewed me the other day for their podcast. I think that should be out fairly soon. Do you have a favorite New York Broadway play? Says Despite Wisdom. Ooh, tough question. I saw a production of Oklahoma on Broadway once that I loved. It was quite controversial at the time, but I did enjoy it. And I saw a production years ago of Race by David Mamet, which I've talked about on Philosophy Tube, which is problematic, but which I did enjoy. And Beetlejuice the Musical too. I really liked that with Alex Brightman, who's a friend of a friend, so that was cool. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be quite judicious about what I go and see on Broadway. Leslie Headland, the creator of The Acolyte, is doing a play in New York soon, which I need to ask her when that is actually, so I can go see it. But yeah. Zipster Man says a good friend just came out as trans and named you as an inspiration. Oh, that's lovely. I'm so glad. Oh, that's so nice. Alfie Horrell Richards. I'm glad the videos are comforting. Yeah. Who's your favorite character from House of the Dragon or actor? Everyone's great. It's like I don't have any favorites per se. I do think that Emma Darcy and Matt Smith are just amazing in this season. Like Emma makes it look easy. They're so good. They are so good in this season. God, they're just on fire. Like, I really want to see them act up close. I didn't get to spend any time on set with them because we don't have any scenes together, but I hope I get to that chance at some point because they're so good and I want to like watch them and be like, okay, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? Oh, thank you, Julia Castro, for that super chat. And Sandra Borge. Via says sending love from the Philippines. Hey, that's awesome. How many wives does Sharako have? I don't know. The show doesn't say. If it's important for the show, you'll find out in the show. If it's not important for the show, many. Many! Trin says the scene where they argue was so electric. Oh, yeah. Emma and Matt? Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. They're both just, like, top of their game right now. Luna Hawthorne says, how have you been in your general life? Huh. You know, I haven't really stopped to ask myself that in quite a while. I think I've been quite happy. I always feel like I'm letting everyone down. I always feel that way. It comes and goes. But I'm working as hard as I can. I hope you all see that. I know that I've been very lucky. And I know that I've been very privileged. It often hurts me that people in the UK, trans people, I mean, are hurt and suffer and die, and that I can't do much about it. It's not, I can do some stuff, but not as much as I'd like. That hurts me a lot. It weighs on me a lot. But at the same time, I am proud of the work I'm doing. I'm in love, which is amazing. Every time I fall in love, I'm just like, wow, I didn't know I could still do that. I guess I had nightmares last night about like old regrets, so I'm just a little pensive today. But in general, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Oh, also I've been dieting recently, which always gets me down. I'm dieting for the red carpet for LA, so oh, thank you so much, little lambkin. I'm really glad the videos are helpful. Maybe I should write that book. We'll talk about that another time. I'm thinking about a book. Maybe. Oh, hey, the disinfectant. Hey. Timur Shah says, is well-written dialogue easier to learn, or is it the same sort of process? Ooh, what a great question. It's broadly the same, and I'm lucky that I have the kind of brain that can deal with text very well, at least right now, right? When actors get older, that sometimes goes. But right now, it's good. Sometimes, it's funny, sometimes if I'm struggling to remember a line, consistently forgetting the same line, that sometimes suggests that the beat change, like the script has gone in an unexpected or unnatural direction. So if an actor consistently forgets the same line, that can sometimes be a good indication that there's something with the script, and that might be that there's a bit of writing that needs to change, or it might be that there's just something about the script that the actor has like failed to appreciate. It might be like, why am I not getting this beat? Oh, it's because I hadn't appreciated that this is happening in this moment for the character, right? So sometimes if a character isn't showing through in a moment, it's like a clue to just sort of stop and try and get in touch with them, you know? Yeah, and also sometimes there's also the good kind of forgetting lines where you get you feel it for real, and you become so in the moment, like, wait, fuck you, actually, right? And you say something out of real emotion that is not what's written on the page, right? That's the good kind of forgetting your lines, and that's the moment where everyone goes, yay, well done, you forgot your lines in a good way, because you made a real connection to something. So that's always nice. Oh, thank you, Dangler, that's so kind. And Patricia Ribeiro. Neptune says, favorite philosophy book right now? I don't have one right now, but at the moment I'm reading The Unaccountability Machine by Dan Davies, and I'm finding that really interesting. I'm going to read that on the train tomorrow. I'm going to go away for a few days. I'm going to see my mum and dad for a bit. And I'm also going to be in Edinburgh next week for the Edinburgh Fringe. So if you're in Edinburgh and you see someone walking around who looks like me, it's probably me. Feel free to come say hi. Yeah, I'll just be checking out Edinburgh Fringe. I'm producing a play at the Edinburgh Fringe this year called Ernest at the Pleasance. And I'm also going to see a couple others. I'm going to go and see, what are they called? Ugly Sisters by Charlie and Laurie, who are two fantastic theatre makers. There's also another couple shows by friends I'm going to go see. Wadwo says, have you seen I Saw the TV Glow? If so, what did you think? Yes, I have. I have so many thoughts about that, all of them positive. Don't even get me started because we don't have time, but yes, love it. Fantastic. Have you ever done voice work, says Carl Stewart? Yeah, I was in Baldur's Gate 3 as Nocturne, and I've done a couple of video games, actually. I did Harmony Full of Reverie, and I've done a few audiobooks too. Oh, and obviously, The Getaway. I was Ms. Terry on The Getaway on Nebula, if you're a fan of jet lag. So, would you ever consider directing something you wrote rather than acting in it? Asked Rose Sarafilovich. I don't know, like, I've never directed. And also I think part of being an artist is knowing where you're strong and knowing where it's okay to, like, have some help. Valentina V, who directs Dracu's Ex-Girlfriend, is an amazing director. She knows more about directing than I ever could. I'm strong as a writer and as an actor. I am strongest as an actor and a writer, probably in the grand scheme of things. I've obviously still got a lot to learn. But I just don't have any ambitions to direct, really. It's not something I necessarily want to do. I can direct actors. Sometimes I can be helpful in a scene and say, well, do you maybe want to try it this way or whatever? But being a director on a film is so much more than that, right? So I'd probably be a good actors director, but not a good anything else director. And you've got to be a good everything director to be a good director. So thank you, Karina Freeman, for that super chat. Oh, I guess I do direct my YouTube videos. Yeah, that's true. I guess. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, thank you, Bryn Overton. That's so kind. RJ Kilroy says you want to create an animated series for Nebula. Well, first of all, thank you for that super chat. Second of all, I don't think Nebula's doing animation right now, and they prioritize creators who are already signed. So the trick would to first become a creator and get signed to Nebula. Oh, thanks for joining, Trin. Oh, you've got your own stream to do, haven't you? Okay, well maybe I'll just end it here since Trin, the chief mod, has got to go. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for the stream. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, have a great night. Thank you so much for being here and being part of it. This is the bit that always confuses me. I have two separate buttons that say end stream in different programs.